A very good evening and thank you for joining GBS News at 9. My name is Stephen George and our sign language interpreter tonight is Paul Madenge. And now, clerics have called on the youth to respect President William Ruto and refrain from chanting Ruto must go during public gatherings. This appeal comes amid heightened political tensions and widespread protest against the government's policies. The clergy emphasized the need for constructive dialogue and peaceful engagement, urging the youth to avoid actions that could escalate conflict or undermine national stability. Now, the clerics also highlighted the importance of respecting leadership while holding the government accountable for its promises and actions. They encouraged the youth to channel their grievances through lawful and peaceful means, fostering a culture of dialogue and mutual respect.
Ningetaka kusema hii serikali ni yetu, ni sisi tulioichagua kama kanisa, na kitu ambacho tumekichagua ni vizuri kukiombea. Hivyo kile ambacho ninataka kuomba Wakenya wetu na hasa watu wa sehemu ya Mount Kenya, tupatie rais wetu heshima ambao inafaa. Sio lazima utokee mkutano uende ukaharibu, kaa nyumbani. Wacha wale ambao wanatokea watokee, kute rais, waende wamwambie rais wetu tunataka hii na hii. Nao viongozi wote ambao tulichagua, ni vizuri. Unajua rais anaongoza watu zaidi ya milioni 50, na kama anaongoza watu zaidi ya milioni 50, kuna jukumu ya kumkumbusha. Kama kuna jambo alisema, hii barabara nitaweka, hii kazi nitafanya, ni kazi ya mbunge kumkumbusha na viongozi ambao tulichagua. Kwa hivyo nyinyi viongozi ambao tulichagua, ni vizuri mtokee vizuri kwa heshima, mkute rais, tumkaribishe kwa shangwe na tuweze kumwambia kile ambacho tunahitaji. Tunahitaji maendeleo, tunahitaji barabara, tunahitaji mahospitali na pia ulinzi wa kutosha. Vijana wapate ajira, watu wapate ajira, vijana wapate kazi, na hiyo ndio ningeomba rais wetu. Mimi najua ya kwamba yeye ni mtu ambaye usikiza, ni vile tu tunamkosea heshima na pia tunakosa kumpatia nafasi aweze kufanya kazi. Wakati alipoingia hatukumpatia nafasi, tukaanza kupiga makelele. Hata hajamaliza mwaka, hata serikali bado haijakuwa stable, tunaanza
The former Deputy President, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, has today toured Kiambu County ahead of President William Ruto's scheduled visit to the mountain. The former second-in-command who poked holes in Ruto's administration, stating on lies enshrine with its challenge the president to show the mountain what he has done to them since he took over power. Sentiments which were echoed by his opposition proponent, Kalonzo Musyoka, who was in Nyamira County. Davis Karani reports.
Anakuja anakuja kufanya nini? Sisi tunataka kumwambia William Ruto, wewe unakuja hapa Mlima Kenya, ukuwe mtu ya kuongea ukweli. Project zile zote ziko hapa katika mlima ni zile zilianzishwa na Rais Uhuru Kenyatta. Hakuna project hata moja yako. Kwa hivyo wewe ukija hapa useme project umefanya ni gani?
It is the atmosphere that the former second-in-command is building ahead of President William Ruto's visit to the mountain.
Usikuje kudanganya watu ya Mlima Kenya. Ati leo jioni ameita Inoro na Kameme akuje kudanganya nyinyi. Mutamusikiza? 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 Muko tayari kwa chama yetu mpya? Mwezi wa 5. Kasongo aende asiende? Atembee asitembee? Aende asiende?
Gachagua has visited the entire mountain and continuously laying the anti-Ruto's administration message to the ground and summarizing his tour in Kiambu County, preaching the message of ejecting President William Ruto out of office in the 2027 general elections.
Pesa imepangwa na magunia. Mujitayarishe. Mukule. Lakini msipeleke hiyo nyumbani, pesa nyumbani imelaaniwa. Mukule pale kwa market peke yake, si ndio? Sasa watu wanapewa pesa kuja kusikiza uongo. Na tumesema basi kama ni kusikiza uongo ulipishe bei kali. Kwa sababu uongo ni kitu baya. Sasa usipewe 200 kusikiza uongo, utakuwa ni mjinga.
Akitaka tukuja mkutano yake 2000. Akitaka tupiga makofi 2000. Akitaka ngemi 3000. Akitaka tucheke 3000. Lakini haujatuambia ni kwa muda gani. Mtu hawezi kudanganya 1 hour ni dakika 20 amalize na aende.
As the ousted DP was in the mountain, his counterpart Kalonzo Musyoka was in Nyamira County, and him too, together with Eugene Wamalwa, started on the plans to use the military to help President William Ruto win the 2027 general elections.
Hatutaki Ruto anaamrisha vijana wanajeshi wetu kutoa matamshi ambao hailingani na katiba yetu. Kwa hivyo hiyo ni onyo tu simple, hatutakubali mambo kama haya. Kwa hivyo kesho sisi tutatoa taarifa kama wana opposition Nairobi kesho.
Kuna wanajeshi wetu ambao Mheshimiwa Ruto deployed against the citizens. Vijana Gen Z, na hapa Kisii pia kuna Gen Z hapa. Kuna vijana waliuawa na Ruto akatoa wanajeshi kwa barracks akawadeploy. That gazette notice we are demanding that it must be revoked na wanajeshi wetu wabaki kwenye barracks. Hatutaki tuone hali tena majenerali wanaanza kusomea wananchi. We don't want the military to intimidate the citizens of the republic.
Will the president's tour be a success for him, or it will roll on him? Tomorrow being 1st of April and the first day of President William Ruto's tour to the mountain will tell. Davis Karani, GBS News, Mount Kenya region.
The Kenyan government has issued a safety advisory for its citizens in Niamey and Thailand following a devastating 7.7 magnitude of earthquake that struck the region. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora, through Principal Secretary Roslyn Jongu, urged Kenyans to prioritize their safety by remaining vigilant and monitoring local news and official alerts for updates after aftershocks and emergency measures. Citizens are advised to avoid unnecessary travel to heavily impacted areas and comply with evacuation orders and safety guidelines issued by local disaster management agencies. Additionally, Kenyans are encouraged to register with the Kenyan Embassy in Bangkok or the nearest East African Community Diplomatic Mission for assistance and updates. The embassy has also provided a hotline and email for further communication. The earthquake has caused significant destruction with over 2,000 deaths and numerous collapsed structures reported. The advisory underscores the importance of staying informed and prepared as the region continues to face the aftermath of the disaster. Seven family members have tragically lost their lives in a road accident on Naivasha-Mai Road in Nakuru County. The collision occurred when a Land Cruiser collided head-on with a trailer, killing 4 children and 3 adults, including a father and his 3 sons. The family was returning from a memorial service in Longonot when the deadly crash took place.
A family has been left shattered after 7 of their members died in a tragic road accident yesterday night along the Naivasha-Mai Road in Nakuru County. The crash occurred when a Land Cruiser collided head-on with a trailer near Mirera Estate. The victims included 4 children and 3 adults, among them a father and his 3 sons who had been traveling back from a memorial service in Longonot for relatives who died the previous week. The loss has left the family in shock and mourning as they cope with the sudden loss of multiple loved ones and are now seeking assistance from well-wishers to help cover funeral costs and manage the financial and emotional burden caused by the tragedy.
Sisi ndio tulipoteza 3 brothers na watoto mmoja wao 3 na mtoto mmoja wa mfanyikazi wao, na wamelazwa Naivasha mortuary. Tunahitajika kufanyiwa postmortem na still tunahitajika kutafuta pesa za kufanya mahali pa kuwapumzisha. Still wao ndio walikuwa wanasimamia familia yetu, so we lost all. So tunahitaji usaidizi. Our mom is sick, alikuwa mfanyia operation. She's now 3 weeks from that time, so we need well wishers to help us.
The 3 adult men believed to be brothers died on the spot, while the minors, 3 from the same family and 1 from a worker's family, were pronounced dead on arrival at Naivasha Sub-County Hospital. According to initial investigations by Naivasha OCPD Anthony Keta, the driver of the Land Cruiser was attempting to overtake another vehicle when the fatal collision occurred. Fortunately, 2 occupants of the trailer were unharmed. The bodies of the deceased have been transported to the local mortuary, and both vehicles involved in the accident have been towed to Naivasha Police Station as authorities continue their investigations into the cause of the crash. Trizatiengo, GBS News.
Mombasa Governor Abdulswamad Nasir has condemned the recent surge in juvenile gang violence in the coast region, attributing the rise of school absenteeism and weakened social structures. Speaking after Eid prayers at Erjing Gala grounds, Nasir described the trend of minors engaging in crime as a disturbing failure of the system designed to guide and protect our children. He emphasized that underage children should be in school rather than being involving themselves into criminal activities, rejecting the notion that youth unemployment justifies their action. Nasir highlighted the success of the previous holiday mentorship program that had reduced juvenile delinquency but was disrupted by budgetary constraints. He called for a review of restrictions limiting county-level interventions in education and announced plans to roll out targeted community initiatives to address the crisis. These efforts will involve engaging stakeholders, including religious leaders and civil society, to steer children away from crime. The governor's remarks come amid a broader security crackdown in Mombasa, where over 23 young individuals were recently arrested for criminal activities. Now, County Commissioner Mohamed Noor also called for the closure of Muguka chewing dens, which are seen as breeding grounds for the juvenile activities.
I think hizi visa sio Mombasa zaidi, na kando na kusema kwa kuna visa hivyo, pia tukumbuke kwa kuna na mazuri pia yaliyoko katika Mombasa. Lakini kama vile alivyozungumza hapa leo ule alotoa hotuba ya kwa it also boils down to education. Nimekuwa nikirejelea na nikisema mtoto aliyoko miaka 15, 16, 17 hatuwezi kuanza kuzungumza lugha ya kwa ni ajira. A juvenile needs to be in school. A child needs to be in school. Na kama hata si shule ambayo kwamba ni ile shule hii, hata kuna zile shule ambazo kwamba ni za kidini, lakini hatuwezi kwa saa zote tunasingizia mtoto wa miaka 15, 16, 17, hata 18, hata 19, huwezi kusingizia ya kuwa ni kwa sababu ya ajira. And hii hotuba ambayo kwamba ametoa leo imamu wetu ya kusisitiza masala ya elimu.
It is time for us to take a short break. Keep your feedback streaming into our social media platform at GBS TV Africa. The SMS line is 21144. We'll be right back.
Anza wiki yako kwa njia sahihi kwa GBS Jumatatu.
Niko nawe hadi midai ya saa 4 asubuhi. Kwanza niseme asante kwa kuzidi kufuatilia na kutazama vipindi vyetu ambavyo huwa tunakuandalia hapa ndani ya GBS TV Jumatatu. People are now seeing the money that have been given to church as a bribe.
Jiunge nasi kila Jumatatu asubuhi kuanzia saa 1:30.
Nimesikia mwenzangu akifanya hesabu hapo ya vile ambavyo miungano zitakuwa. Ruto is going to fail whether with Raila or without Raila.
Kuna mahali anakosea akisema ati Raila na Ruto wataungana. Hakuna kuungana iko hapo, ndugu yangu, aje nikwambie ukweli.
Hadithi za kunoga.
Ukiangalia Wakenya, wananchi wa Kenya, pia hao maisha yao imedhulumiwa kwa kuongezwa kwa taxes, ziko very high taxes. So the statement by the Rigathi Gachagua is just statement ya kumcheck that we can see you we can see between the lines.
Na mazungumzo yenye nguvu ya kukuletea utulivu kwa wiki yako.
Ati Raila ataingia UDA hapo
hiyo ni ndoto. Mimi yote nasema hawezi, sababu nasema hivi mheshimiwa,
ikiwa Raila
itakuwa, mimi naona itakuwa
hadi saa 4 za asubuhi kwa majadiliano ya kusisimua.
Mheshimiwa Rais William Samoei Ruto ajue ya kwamba sasa yeye ni president wa Kenya. Sio mambo ya kufanyia wana Kenya mzaha. Kupoteza biashara kwa siku moja katika CPD, nafikiria ni jambo ambalo ni rahisi.
Usikose, ingia kwenye GBS TV. Anza Jumatatu yako kwa kusudi.
If the government does not spend, my brother, hakuna maendeleo inaonekana, hakuna barabara zinatengenezwa, hakuna dawa kwa hospitali, my friend, economies will not grow.
Tuonane panapo majaliwa yake Mwenyezi Mungu.
GBS Jumatatu, palipo mjadala wa leo na mwelekeo wa kesho.
Water remains to be the world's most precious commodity, but is the most misused. In times of drought, saving water is the only solution to making sure you have it. Don't use the shower when water is scarce. Instead, use the basin while bathing. Repair all leaking taps and pipes. Wash your car only whenever necessary. If not, use a piece of cloth to wipe it clean. Do not use the hose pipe to water your garden. Instead, use the water you clean your vegetable with to water your flowers. Do not release wastewater into rivers. Note that your downstream is someone else's upstream. Of all the waters available on Earth, only 1% is fit for human consumption. Every drop counts.
Everywhere, GBS.
And welcome back. Globally, plastics are latching agricultural land, spreading across fields through fertilizers, encasing seeds, serving as moisture-retaining taps, and accumulating as waste from various industries. In Uganda, a surge of plastic bags, commonly referred to as buvera, is extending its reach beyond urban areas. This issue has long plagued the landscape of Kampala, the capital, where buvera have become intertwined in everyday life.
Plastics are increasingly infiltrating agricultural lands worldwide, spreading through fertilizers, seed coatings, moisture-retaining taps, and a waste from various industries.
Microplastic is a very big challenge. We experience so many plastics, and that is brought up by the reason of having so many plastic factories or industries, of bottling company for water, for juice, and then for energy drinks. So they process so many plastics.
In Uganda, plastic bags or buvera are now spreading beyond urban areas into remote farmlands, including being used to plant coffee seeds in nurseries. As climate change worsens, farmers are more dependent on agricultural plastics to cope with extreme weather conditions. However, research reveals the harmful effect of microplastics on ecosystems and human health, raising concerns about their presence in the food supply.
So microplastics are created when large plastic in the environment breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces. And the real problem is that those pieces never really go away. They just get smaller and smaller, and they get into our soils, and they get into our waters, and they get into animals in the environment, and they get into us as well. So we know that microplastics are in our bodies, in our lungs, our brains. They've been found in a variety of places. What is ongoing research now is what the impact of that is. One of the potential issues is that there are other chemicals, potentially toxic chemicals, that adhere onto microplastics and can be moved around in the environment and in our bodies through those microplastics.
The situation is especially challenging for farmers already struggling with climate change as they lack resources to manage plastic waste effectively. Peris Kigo, GBS News, Nairobi.
Tensions are rising in Ramula and Munungo villages in Siaya and Vihiga counties, where residents are accusing Shanta Gold Company Limited of fraudulently obtaining consent to mine on their land. The community claims the company took advantage of their literacy, misleading them into signing documents that authorize mining activities without their consent.
Residents of Ramula and Munungo villages in Siaya and Vihiga counties are accusing Shanta Gold Company Limited of fraudulently obtaining consent to mine on their land. They claim the company took advantage of their illiteracy and lack of knowledge to have them sign documents that allowed mining activities.
That company, when it was moving around the village, took advantage of the innocence and the literacy of some of the members of the community and illegally obtained their consent. They lied to the old men and women that they were doing registration for SHA. They lied to some of them that they were registering them for Inua Jamii. They lied to some of them that they were registering them for Give Direct and that their funds will be receiving money every month. So some of those consents were obtained fraudulently, to the extent that these people were illiterate. They were given documents written in English, no translate to them, no interpretation, and they signed thinking that there was going to be some monetary gain.
At a community meeting in Ramula, the residents demanded that the government revoke these consents, threatening legal action if their concerns are not addressed.
Nataka niseme kwa niaba ya wenye mashamba ya kwamba tumekuwa na vikao vyetu, tumeandika petitions kwa serikali yote ya Siaya na ya Kenya. Sisi bado tuna msimamo yetu ya kwamba hakuna dhahabu itachimbwa na kampuni ambayo inajulikana kama Shanta Gold ikiwa hawatakubali kuja chini na kutuonyesha ni mbinu gani walitumia kupata consent ambayo walipelekea serikali wakidai tumewapea. Sababu hawawezi kuwa na consent zenye zimekuwa signed na mababu zetu walioaga kule nyuma, alafu wanadai ni sisi tulipeana. Kwa hivyo sisi kama wenye samba tuna maswali kadhaa ambayo tunahitaji watujibu. Hata kama watakuja kwa ground ama mbinu gani watatumia, tunataka zile consent zote ambaye wako nazo kwa saa hii, sababu tumezikataa, waturudisia hapa na tujue zilikuwa signed na wakina nani. Sababu tumesapeana notice zetu kupitia kwa mawakili wetu, ambaye tena leo tulipeana nafasi hiyo ifanywe na wakili Willy Sotieno.
Mimi kwa niaba ya wakaaji wa Ramula na Munungo tunasema hivi, kuna mnyama mwenye amekuja kutuingilia hapa mwenye anaitwa Shanta Gold. Na Shanta Gold atumtambui ni nani. Sisi kama wamama tumesema.
Through their lawyer Willy Sotieno, the residents stated that the majority never gave consent for mining. Otieno has already contacted relevant government agencies and the company, calling for fresh negotiations before any mining can occur. The community has vowed to block any mining operations without their approval. They have petitioned the Independent Police Oversight Authority (IPOA) to investigate the police misconduct and ensure their right to make informed decisions about their land is respected. Elvin Muyodi, GBS News.
Well, we are taking a short break. If you have feedback, streaming into a social media platform at GBS TV Africa, the SMS line is 21144. We'll be right back.
Water remains to be the world's most precious commodity, but is the most misused. In times of drought, saving water is the only solution to making sure you have it. Don't use the shower when water is scarce. Instead, use the basin while bathing. Repair all leaking taps and pipes. Wash your car only whenever necessary. If not, use a piece of cloth to wipe it clean. Do not use the hose pipe to water your garden. Instead, use the water you clean your vegetable with to water your flowers. Do not release wastewater into rivers. Note that your downstream is someone else's upstream. Of all the waters available on Earth, only 1% is fit for human consumption. Every drop counts.
Everywhere, GBS.
And welcome back now to international news. Mahmoud Yusuf Ali, chair of the African Union Commission, has launched diplomatic efforts to ease tensions in South Sudan after Raila Odinga was blocked from meeting detained Vice President Riek Machar. Mahmoud held direct talks with President Salva Kiir, emphasizing dialogue and announcing plans to send a mediation panel to the conflict-ridden nation.
African Union Commission chairperson Mahmoud Yusuf Ali has stepped in to de-escalate the situation in South Sudan after Raila Odinga revealed that he was denied a chance to meet South Sudan's first Vice President, Riek Machar, who is under house arrest. In a statement released today by the African Union, Mahmoud revealed that he had engaged in direct talks with the President Salva Kiir. The AUC chair further revealed that the talks were cordial, and the two leaders talked on the importance of embracing dialogue to quell growing tensions in South Sudan. Further, Mahmoud revealed plans to dispatch a panel to South Sudan as part of greater efforts to enhance the ongoing mediation. The AUC boss, however, did not reveal the individuals picked to help strike a deal in the war-stricken nation. The AU has called on all parties to uphold the provisions of the revitalized agreement on the resolution of the conflict in South Sudan, signed on September 12th of 2018. The latest intervention came after Raila's botched mission, so the ODM party leader allegedly denied the chance to meet Machar, who is under house arrest. Machar was arrested on Wednesday after a convoy consisting of 20 heavily armed vehicles reportedly stormed his residence in Juba, where they disarmed his security personnel. Raila was specifically picked by President William Ruto to be part of Kenya's special envoy to South Sudan. Addressing the press on Saturday, Raila said he was informed by the South Sudan government that investigations were underway on the killing of top military commander, General Major Dak.
So I had a lengthy discussion with President Kiir, who told me about challenges they're facing, that there was a killing of a general and about 10 other people in the town of Nasir in the Upper Nile. And this is what they're actually investigating. And because of this, he said that Vice President Dr. Riek Machar had been placed under house arrest as they continue with their investigations. From Juba, I asked to be allowed to talk to Dr. Machar, but they were not able to allow me to see him. They recommended that I meet with President Museveni.
Hours after meeting Kiir, Odinga traveled to Entebbe in Uganda, where he met President Yoweri Museveni. Hilary Kabila, GBS News.
Fighting between Sudan's army and the paramilitary rapid support forces continues despite the RSF withdrawal from Khartoum, with RSF leader Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo promising a return stronger and victorious. The conflict sparked by political tensions has caused widespread destruction, mass displacement, and a severe humanitarian crisis.
Sudan's paramilitary group, the Rapid Support Forces, has stated that its war with the army is not over, despite withdrawing from the capital, Khartoum. Rapid Support Forces Commander Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo called it a tactical repositioning, promising that his forces would return stronger and victorious. The Sudanese Armed Forces recently pushed the Rapid Support Forces out of Khartoum and secured Omdurman, a key city with major military bases. Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan rejected any reconciliation with the Rapid Support Forces, vowing to crush it. The conflict stemming from tensions over Sudan's political transition has devastated the capital, displaced millions, caused tens of thousands of deaths, and left half of the population facing hunger, creating one of the world's worst humanitarian crises.
Protests are unfolding across Brazil as citizens rally against a proposed amnesty for those involved in the 8th of January insurrection, where supporters of former President Jair Bolsonaro stormed key government buildings in an attempt to overturn the results of the 2022 election. With over 200 members of the Congress backing the bill, many Brazilians are voicing their opposition, demanding accountability for those responsible.
Protests have erupted in Brazil as citizens demand justice for those involved in the January 8, 2023 revolt, where Bolsonaro supporters stormed government buildings in an attempt to overthrow President Luiz and restore former President Bolsonaro to power. Protesters are rallying against a proposed amnesty bill in Congress that will pardon those involved in the attack, with over 200 lawmakers already supporting the bill. This has sparked outrage among many Brazilians who fear it will undermine democracy and the rule of law.
This is a historic moment. We organized this march on the 61st anniversary of 1964 military coup to declare that Brazilians will never ever lead another dictatorship. This is exactly what Bolsonaro and his supporters were trying to do.
Bolsonaro, who denies any involvement in the coup plot, is set to stand trial later this year. The proposed amnesty bill faces opposition from Brazil's Supreme Court, which has firmly rejected any attempt to absolve those responsible for the insurrection. With the 2026 presidential elections approaching, the political tension is mounting, and Bolsonaro has announced plans for another rally in Sao Paulo on April 6th, further deepening the divide in the country. Triza Tiengo, GBS News.
In Burkina Faso, the nation's junta leader, Captain Ibrahim, has issued a decree granting clemency to 21 soldiers convicted for their involvement in the 2015 failed coup. This move comes as the country continues to grapple with a persistent jihadist insurgency. The pardon, formalized in an official decree, affects 6 officers and 15 non-commissioned and regular soldiers. They were sentenced in 2019 for crimes including treason, murder, and endangering state security stemming from their roles in the attempt to overthrow the transitional government of Michel Kafando. Notably, Generals Gilbert and Basole, considered key figures in the coup, were excluded from the amnesty. The pardoned soldiers are expected to rejoin the Burkina Faso military, which is currently engaged in a prolonged fight against Al-Qaeda and ICS-linked groups. However, the decree stipulates that they will not receive compensation or career advancement. To qualify for the pardon, soldiers were required to demonstrate a patriotic commitment and readiness to combat terrorism. The 2025 coup attempt, led by members of the Regiment of the Presidential Security, loyal to ousted President Blaise Briefed, destabilized the nation. It was ultimately quelled by loyalist forces following public protest and international pressure. The failed coup resulted in 14 deaths and over 270 injuries. In a bid to strengthen regional economic ties, South Korea, China, and Japan held their first economic dialogue in 5 years on Sunday. With global trade tensions rising, particularly due to U.S. tariffs, the three Asian export giants are looking to collaborate more closely to safeguard and promote regional commerce. The discussions focused on fostering a South Korea-Japan-China free trade agreement to enhance trade liberation and address economic challenges in the face of shifting international dynamics.
South Korea, China, and Japan held their first economic dialogue in 5 years, focusing on strengthening regional trade amid growing global uncertainties, especially due to U.S. tariffs under Donald Trump's administration. The trade ministers discussed ways to enhance cooperation and tackle economic challenges, emphasizing the importance of closer ties between the three Asian manufacturing giants. This agreement will aim to reduce trade barriers, increase market access, and streamline regulatory standards, boosting regional economic integration and promoting smoother cross-border investments. Additionally, the countries highlighted the need for collective effort to maintain open markets and address disruptions in supply chains worsened by the COVID-19 pandemic. They expressed optimism that stronger trilateral cooperation would enhance economic resilience and contribute to global trade stability. Elvin Muyodi, GBS News.
Tensions between the United States and Iran are escalating as President Donald Trump issued a stern warning to Tehran on Sunday. Trump threatened military action and the imposition of secondary tariffs if Iran does not reach a deal with Washington over its nuclear program. This comes as Iran continues to advance its nuclear activities, prompting concerns about the potential for conflict.
U.S. President Donald Trump threatened Iran with military action and secondary tariffs if he did not reach a deal with Washington over its nuclear program. His warning followed increased concerns about Iran's nuclear activities, including its enriched uranium stockpile, which exceeded limits set by the 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action that the U.S. withdrew from in 2018. Trump's remarks came amid rising tensions of Iran's refusal to adhere to the deal's restrictions and its ongoing missile tests. Trump's maximum pressure campaign, which included withdrawing from the nuclear deal, reimposing sanctions, and targeting Iran's economy, was designed to curb Tehran's nuclear ambitions. His administration also labeled Iran a state sponsor of terrorism and targeted key sectors of its economy, including oil exports. Trump argued that the 2015 deal was imperfect, allowing Iran to potentially develop nuclear weapons once its restrictions expired. Trump's threat of secondary tariffs aimed at pressuring countries doing business with Iran reflects his strategy of leveraging economic sanctions to isolate Tehran further. He also warned that the U.S. will take military action if necessary, reiterating his stance that Iran must comply with Washington's demands or face severe consequences. Elvin Muyodi, GBS News.
It is time for your most favorite segment of the show, the Sports News. Let's get sporty. The much-anticipated 96th edition of the Mashemeji Derby between AFC Leopards and Gor Mahia ended in a goalless draw at Nyayo National Stadium on Sunday. Despite a packed stadium filled with passionate fans, the match failed to deliver the excitement that fans had hoped for, as both teams settled for a point after 90 minutes of action.
The highly anticipated 96th edition of the Mashemeji Derby between reigning champions Gor Mahia and FC Leopards ended in a goalless draw at Nyayo National Stadium. The match saw a packed stadium with fans from both sides of the divide filling the stands, creating an electrifying atmosphere for the country's biggest football clash. Throughout the 90 minutes, both teams struggled to break the deadlock, with each side failing to capitalize on their chances.
Anaigusa kwake Sharif Musa. Sharif for the goal! Mikatalo vai! Victor Otieno anaileta ndani nafasi! Alma Nusra! kumsomea simiti. Imefikia Ben Stanley Omondi. Kwake Austin sasa. Austin! Oh! He was onside. Michael Ovelo Cheng anaipiga uzuri. Mekwenda juu ya lango.
The Mashemeji Derby is a fixture that draws attention across Kenya and still remains a significant event in the country's football calendar. Fans will now look forward to future encounters, hoping for a more thrilling spectacle next time. Elvin Muyodi, GBS Sports.
Well, we have come to the end of the news bulletin. It is always a pleasure having you on board. Let's do this again, same time, same channel. We make your news our business. My name is Stephen George, and the sign language interpreter tonight has been Paul Madenge. Good night.
Everywhere, GBS.